Hi, this is Ana Popovic, and this is the Blues Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Blues Podcast. I'm Big Boy Bloater. Now today I've got a very special guest online with me. Very excited about this one. Let's get straight into it. The one and only, truly an international blues superstar, the one and only Ana Popovic. Hey Anna, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm pretty
great.
good, thanks.
I'm back in Holland, so I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, I mean, when I said international, I mean, you really are, aren't you? You move about all over the place, right?
Yes, yeah. We finally settled in Los Angeles, and we are loving it over there. And now we got a nice little excuse because the schools didn't start yet to be here for 2 months in Amsterdam and get the family back and wait it out until the schools are hopefully open. So they're doing all kinds of Zoom lessons, and we are just enjoying Amsterdam and enjoying Holland. Yeah. So it's been great.
How's the whole COVID lockdown thing been for you guys? I mean, it's ruined the music industry, hasn't it? But
Oh, for sure. You know, I mean, it's way more relaxed here. If you ask me about the street, I don't know the music stuff here, but looking at the streets, it's way more relaxed because Californians are taking it very seriously. And where I live in Manhattan Beach, there's really 0 cases. And it's really mild, but still you can't move around without masks and stuff. So here it was a big surprise. Like the kids loved it that they could go to a supermarket without masks. It's strange, but hey, everybody's taking it different. Now the music business, of course, wow. I'm celebrating 20 years this year, and I was always saying the same thing to whoever asked me or my kids. I said, when you're a musician, you can go through any crisis, because I've been, I started back in Serbia, started playing, and it was an awful political situation, but I could always play, and there was always people that wanted to go out, have a drink and play. Now 2008, remember that was kind of a global crisis, and we were barely, influenced by that and kept on releasing records and playing. Now this is the first time that we don't. However, I still try to have concerts, and throughout all these times, we were able to find shows, which was very important, social distancing shows. I think it's very important for my band and for me, and that's what I'm absolutely going for. Whenever we can play, either it's a private event or some of our fans putting together a private event for us, either it's a driving show or maybe a social distancing show. Yeah. So we've been playing, and we are very lucky, but I'm insisting on that because you can't stop the music. I think it's important for the band to be busy with the music, busy with thinking about music versus trying to get a little job here and there. So we're hoping this October tour is gonna go on. Some shows fell apart, some shows been moved.
Yeah.
But we still got something in agenda with the clubs that want to work with us as far as doing 2 shows instead of the 1, cleaning up the place in between. So yeah, we got Maastricht coming up, and they added a show because already those shows were sold out. So for that capacity. So, and then we got some in Germany, we got some in Switzerland. So hopefully, we'll go.
Yeah,
we'll go and see who wants us, and who doesn't send us back, we'll play.
I think this whole 2 shows concept is quite a good idea, isn't it? Where they literally will like fill half the venue, but do the show twice, so as many people can come in. I bet there's going to be some super fans who want to get tickets for like both shows and see how different they are. Yeah. There'll be people writing reviews saying, "Oh, the first show was different from the second show," and all that kind of. That's kind of exciting, right?
It's very exciting, and that's what really kept me going for 20 years. This is my 20th anniversary, and that's the really variety of things that you experience as a musician. And everything I learned is somewhere an inspiration. It's actually really how you manage those unexpected circumstances. We stopped doing 2 shows many years ago, and I remember my manager says, Ana just doesn't do 2 shows, and I mean, I didn't like it. I didn't like the 2 shows. I mean, in the States, people would do 3 shows,
Yeah.
3 sets. It's like, I can't. I want to be giving them this exciting show from the beginning to the end. So he would say, hire a support act, and that's how we rolled for years, and now we are suddenly back to 2 shows again after so many years. But it's really different because the people leave, new crowd comes in, and they're very far apart, right? They're sitting very far, as it's not the same energy, but you learn to maneuver through these new situations. And I always have to say that there's always some inspiration in every situation, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I want to go right back to the early days with you, if that's okay, and start off talking about, because you grew up in Serbia, right? Now, I think a lot of people in the Western world won't really know what that was exactly like back in the, you know, in the 80s, in the 70s, 80s, 90s. But I mean, how does a girl in Serbia get into blues music?
Yeah, well, that was way before, internet and all kinds of, Facebook pages. So really, we were listening to records back home. I grew up in a family where blues was really primary music, and we would listen to it every day. I had a conversation not long ago with Joe Bonamassa on his stream, and it was the same thing. We were kind of reminiscing on some of the old days and how we would watch those VHSs and just analyze the soul. And it was interesting that he also said, you know, he asked, do you think we were better off with not having so many options?
Yeah.
And some were yes, because you only had so many tapes of so many artists. You know, I remember we had Clapton, we had show B.B. King, we had, Stevie, a few shows, and some of the old blues stuff like Muddy Waters, and you would just sit down and analyze what they were doing over and over again, versus now, new generation, they just really they only have a span of attention of seven seconds. I mean, they kind of run through them, but then again, they have so many other options, to learn from. You can have guitar lessons online all day long, which was of course not even close in our time. Every time has some great things about it. But we were focused, that's for sure. We would sit down with those tapes or the records and just play through them over and over again until it's in your fingers. That's how it was growing up in Serbia. If you're asking for something else, I don't know. But to me, it was
That's
just
cool.
filled with blues and great music and rock, and we would make an evening from just looking at Allman Brothers Band show or Stevie Ray Vaughan and just sit down and watch them play, so there's no way my kids would sit around waiting for that show to be over. I mean, it was wonderful. But what I said, I started playing with my first band Hush when I was 18, and soon after that I moved to Holland to study music, but we did have about 4 shows a week every week for three years time, and that was my first introduction to being a musician, full-time musician, making money with music. And in that situation, it was very, very welcome, so I always go and try to explain to children, not only my children, that it's really a good way of having, knowing an instrument will help you at some stage in your life, not to mention
absolutely,
as a psychologically it's going to help you with what you're doing on the side. It's always great to think music and be busy with music.
Reason why I was asking it, I had a couple of friends, musicians, who were into blues and rock and roll. They were in Russia in the late 70s and the early 80s, and for them, getting hold of the music was really hard. They had to go and the music was kind of almost banned, and they had to go and down dark alleys late at night and switch tapes with people and things like that. Was it fairly easy for you to get hold of like records and stuff, or
Yeah. My father has a huge collection of records, and and one time he said, if you haven't heard it from me, it was probably not worth hearing. That was his little line. Of course, it's a half a joke, but it was actually somewhere really true, because I was introduced to all kinds of different music, funk and rock and 70s rock, and just really, really good stuff.
Out of all your dad's records at that time, who was the one that really stood out for you? The one that really made you sit up and think, I like the guitar playing in that.
So many. I remember we had the collection from the roots blues, from the Delta stuff. Robert Johnson, Elmore James was really a record that I wore that out, because I played slide with that with his records. There's a few and B.B. King, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Albert Collins, a few records of his, Collins, Craig, Copeland, Showdown. That was one of my favorite records at that time, that I also wore out. Robert Cray. I mean, so many. It's really hard to pick, but it was on a constant rotation,
Yeah, that's brilliant. Do you remember getting your first guitar, and how did that come about?
Yeah, I did. I got my first one just before I formed my band, and I have to thank my parents again for that, because you can imagine in Serbia it was not on their list as a hobby.
Yeah.
Or anybody else's lists all over Europe. It was a pricey thing at that time, so parents that would do that were rare. They took me to I think my first one, I guess I got it on somehow, I want to say online, but of course there was no online. It was some sort of an advertisement, right? I'm thinking how I got a hold of the first Strat was a 72 Strat. But soon after that, I changed that for my Fiesta Red maple neck guitar that I still play. That was my official, first great guitar. It's a reissue 57, and I have it on stage ever since. It's always been with me. But that was kind of a huge deal because we bought it right here in Holland when we were visiting, and we went into Horn shop that had custom shops, and I got to choose one, which is wonderful. They sacrificed a lot for me to get that guitar, although at that time it was still kind of a hobby.
Yeah, that's great though, because I think a lot of people starting off, myself included, first guitar, I got rid of my first guitar years ago. I don't know. In fact, I think I took it to bits and it fell apart, and I lost all the bits, and it was gone. So that's completely gone. But the fact that you've still got that Fiesta Red Strat, that is amazing.
Oh, it's very dear to my heart, so I always keep it, and it just keeps sounding better. It always sounded incredible, but it's that tone that I look for when I play a slow blues or any slow song. It's a maple neck, so it's ringing certain ways, and it's just really it's got those reissue pickups, and I think it just gets better with time.
Do you think a guitar needs this kind of time to be worn in and to kind of really bed in?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Although I remember it always sounding great, with my other guitar, with the 64, I did have some sort of a time where I was trying out and, try to mold it the way I needed. And that guitar kind of had a life of its own. It's a wild guitar. And, that was another way of being inspired by something that's constantly changing. Now maple neck, that was always just great, and then this one I had to try it out, and it's my first guitar. It's a rosewood neck, and the one that I play the most, and it's all original 64. Now that's a different story. You see, that one I had a feeling that it's constantly changing. Like I find it one way, it's sounding this way, and that's what I want, and the next day it's like a surprise. Okay, it's taking me some other places, but so I got both. I got, those are my two main guitars, and then I got other guitars, but they all have a certain character with them.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah. So you're in Belgrade. You get your first guitar and you put your band together, Hush. What kind of songs were you playing back then? And was there plenty of gigs going on around there? How's the music scene?
Well, we were playing, some blues. We were starting to write our own stuff. Now, back then, of course, you're writing in a language that's not yours. So that was the first try of me writing songs. I think we wrote Hometown. That used to be a song that I played long later in the set, and it was on my first American debut also. You try things out, and it's not your language, and you have no idea what you're doing. But it kind of introduced me to songwriting, and then I think we had a Buddy Guy song on it. We had, it's been a long ago. Some blues covers, and but it did help me when I finally moved to Holland. I went straight to a booking agent, and I submitted that record that I made in Serbia, and actually it had really good response here, and a few magazines wrote about it. saying that it was a good production for that time, and they were kind of surprised what I brought from Serbia, the product
Right,
I
yeah.
brought. And you know, we played what I said 4 times a week, and we had good shows. We had international festivals, and I always wanted more than that. I really wanted to get to the States. So Holland was a stepping stone for me, and I studied music here for a few years, and I right away signed a deal with Rough Records, and then we released it in the States. That was very soon after that, and some of those songs from my first record, from Hush Time, were on that record too. So, you know, that was the first record ever nominated from the Continental Europe for the American Blues Award.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and even now, there's just not a whole lot. I don't know, you know, there's maybe a handful. You know, it's not easy to get to the States and just release something and be nominated. It's still very much reserved for American artists. So I'm very happy to maybe you know, pioneer that and just inspire people from all over Europe, even Eastern Europe or wherever nowadays you're from. You're still able to go overseas and make a career. And I was doing this for 20 years on both sides of the ocean. So yeah, I mean, that's how it went. And then I was living a few years in Holland, and I formed my band, Ana Popovic band. And then at some point, well, we were playing so much the States, and that time was clear I would need to move. So we left Amsterdam 8 years ago, and we finally found our place in LA. And it's been great ever since.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're in Holland, and that's where you studied music. Was it important for you to actually study music? I mean, you'd already been playing, so you went to, what was it, the Conservatory of Jazz, wasn't it, to study music?
Yes, I studied in Utrecht on jazz department, Conservatory of Utrecht, and then I went to Rotterdam a year later. I think it was a pop department, and it was very important for me. I mean, Utrecht was a school where they didn't understand that people need to also invest in their own careers, unfortunately. So that I couldn't, although I was very keen to do that. I wanted them to have time for somebody who wants a career and help me out, because I would like to improve my playing at that time, not necessarily to become a jazz player, but there's so much gray area in between somebody who wants a career and somebody who needs to be a jazz guitar player. And I don't think at that time, I don't know how it is now, they understood that. And I don't know how it is the rest of the music academy, but that's basically their problem, because once people graduate, 3% stays in music. I mean, you can do the research. I don't know. I mean, on any of the schools, and especially European schools, just because of the nature of the music here, you know. But it's sad to see that a lot of people leave those jazz academies and not have their career. First of all, you take the most important years of their lives, when they're most creative. You know, once they you know, finish the studies, they're 25, 26, who knows when they started, but you know, what are you going to do now? And then of course, jazz is a difficult genre to break through, right? To break through. I mean, the records are lowest sold and stuff like that. So you need to be able to, if you want to be jazz, right, you need to be able to come with something different on the plate, you know, on the table, bring something different to the table. So I think those conservatories should really find a way to really engage those children and those students, and absolutely try to help them in their way to be having concerts themselves and be booked. When are you going to be booked? If not then, at that time. So yeah, so Utrecht is a great school academically, but unfortunately they all want those students to be locked in their rooms and just do whatever the school tells them to do. Now, I was never that kind of a student. I knew right away what I want to do and what my style of music would be.
Yeah.
It would be on the blues side. And I wanted to invest in that, but it could be, as you know, now after I did so many 10 records, it's always on the edge of the blues and the blue note and meeting other styles. Rotterdam was a little more open and definitely got me into connection with some pop music that I wouldn't have necessarily heard before that. So that was interesting, how you form a song, how you form a solo, how you play in the service of a song and not just show off with your guitar.
Right, yeah.
Which is very important for a guitar player, I think. So I mean, I think those two were good, definitely good start for me. And by then, I mean, I was having hundreds of shows a year. So basically, you know, I couldn't even stay there, even if I wanted to. It would have to be some sort of remote learning. But it was a very good experience for me, and I really wanted to learn that, because in Serbia you have very limited options for learning music. And then I formed my band, and then the rest is history. But it was wonderful times. Looking back, you know, I enjoyed being in downtown Utrecht, which is one big music academy, and everybody's running around with their music instruments on their backs, and it was just very free, you know. I felt very free, and that was the moment I made my choice, because I was also a graphic designer studying.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, right? You start off in graphic design, right? I mean, there's two fairly different paths. I mean, that could have been very different for you, right?
And very similar. I mean, it's all art.
Yeah,
it's all art, and I still
yeah.
think a lot in art, in graphic design. I'm still very fascinated by interior design, architecture. You know, those things kind of implement each other. It's all art, and you know, I see music everywhere. In a beautiful art piece, you see music, and the other way around. You know, they can inspire each other. So yeah, I mean, it was just a moment when I really decided I'm going to go for music full time. It was a kind of a scary moment too, because, you know, there's really, in a way, no turning back. But I went full time for music. And that moment I realistically started, you know, thinking about the future and what I need to make it work. First, I'm a Serbian. In the Western world, I'm a woman in a male world at that time, and it wasn't half as cool to be a female guitar player as it is now, or a saxophone player, or a bass player, or, you know, and it's just, the world is changing towards female players, and it's just wonderful to see, you know, and to witness that change, you know, and that's just how it's supposed to be. I don't know what's going to be in 10 years from now. Are the boys back on in the front or not? I can't tell that, but I'm sure enjoying this moment where it's just really everybody, even, you know, guitar makers are turning towards women, because they know there is a new potential, you know, crowd getting guitars, and they're female. So, you know, back then it was a scary moment to let everything go and just focus on music. But at the same time, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go for this. So that means I'm going to go call, you know, I'm going to be at every jam session. I'm going to call every booking agent, and I'm going to obviously make my way to the States, because my music, blues, you can do that all year long or lifelong here in Europe, but basically you need to be recognized over there.
Yeah.
In order to make a name, and then you can come back and then, you know, do it wherever you want. But yeah.
Just going back to the industry and how is very male dominated, even still now. I mean, there's a lot more male musicians, music industry people than females. What do you think we can do to encourage more women into the industry and get them playing and you know, producing and recording and doing stuff?
I mean, it's happening as we speak, and I think that's wonderful. I don't know what we can do to make it even more. I mean, I think it's going to go its natural way, and it's going to show that female performers have a different way of bringing something to the table, and have a, you know, it's sounding a little different, and they got this, you know, there's so many possibility. Obviously, you know, you know, women gonna take it different ways. You know, they're gonna merge art, as they're doing right now, right? Merge art and music, merge fashion and music, you know, merge acting with music. You know, you can go any direction, and I think that's something that's going to be explode. You know, they're going to try to find new ways in the next, whatever, 5-10 years. I'm looking forward to seeing that, and not to put any of my male colleagues down. I think it's just going to be, you know, it's going to inspire people to do something different. You know, it's no longer enough to just sit there with your guitar or stand on stage with your guitar. And you know, you also see a lot of what I noticed, and I think I was one of the first in this. I mean, yeah, one of the first that was experiencing with that about 8 years ago when I brought my 9-piece band on stage. I mean, at that time, Tedeschi Trucks was starting to do their thing with the 12-piece band. But up until then, on the festivals, blues festivals that I was playing in the States, was usually 3 or 4-piece. There's so much you can do. And, everything sounded the same. So when I got my 9-piece band, which was, I think, 2012, that was huge. I mean, you have to experiment with music. And I always wrote my music as, having parts for horns and having parts for even strings and having parts for background vocals were always very, very, very big. It wasn't just the background vocals. Like the word says it's background. To me, it was church style, and they were leading those choruses and stuff like that. So that's how I used to write. And I think that female artists are going to bring something new to the table, and that's going to probably inspire male artists to start thinking out of the box and bring something different. And I think it's an exciting times. And also, the record companies, are trying to think out of the box. And there are so many artists that are making their own records. Everything is shaking up a little bit, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, how do you see the music industry going at the moment? Besides the recent pandemic thing, it's changed the last few years, definitely, with things like streaming and more videos, downloads, all that sort of thing. Do you think that's a good thing for the industry, or did we have the golden days back in the sort of the 90s, the 80s, when the album was the thing that everyone went out and bought?
I think what the most important and most positive things out of these times is that you don't have to depend on a manager to find you or a record company to make a deal with you. I mean, Larkin Poe, right? Those sisters, they're the best examples. For example, they just did it themselves. They posted videos, people loved it, and that's it. And they start having industry turn their way and looking for them instead of the other way around. And I think that's very positive. Where if you're not afraid of work and you're good, and back in the day when I started, it used to be you have a good show, people come, pay tickets. It takes a lot of time, of course, because you need to build your name. But hey, there were bands that were just so good live. Let me give an example: Hoax. Hoax from Britain, right? Yep. Back in the day, they fell apart later. But I mean, I remember coming to Holland and thinking, wow, these guys, they got the show. And why they didn't go to the States, I don't know, because they would have been a great success. But I mean, I remember them kind of being a hot band in the European Blues Festival. So it's just a small example, but I'm saying, back in the day, that used to be like, you have a great show, people are going to book you, even if you don't have a record company or even if you're not well known. That was then when I started. Nowadays, it's like you know how to work the internet, you know how to post stuff, you know how to every day, stand in front of your little mirror and your light and you play a few songs. It can really be scratchy. You can even tell jokes. Some people make a cooking show, and they're musicians. Seriously, there are people that actually cook in front of their audience. I mean, it's amazing, and it's times are changing. So I'm just saying it gives you a lot of opportunities, and you don't necessarily need to be spotted by a manager or a record company. And I think that's positive. Now, what is that going to do with sales of the records? I don't know. I know that when I started making my own records, I was very surprised with the financial aspect of it, because if you listen to record companies, they never sell nothing. But hey, I got news for artists, it's not true. Now, where is that going to go in the coming years? That I can't predict. But I always tend to think that there's always something positive in the change.
Yeah, it's a good way to see it.
Yeah, they keep on changing. Yeah.
I mean, speaking of change, I mean, you're an artist who's had a lot of change from, starting in Serbia and then moving to Holland, and then you upped sticks again and moved to Memphis. I mean, that's quite a big jump, right?
Yeah, Memphis wasn't planned, although my first stop just before the American Blues Awards, when I was nominated first time, was Memphis. So I recorded my first record there, and the next time I was there, I was nominated. So that was back in 2001, I think. But I never thought of Memphis my place to live. And at that time, that was when I was working with a 9-piece band, and I made Can You Stand the Heat record. And I was actually expecting my daughter. I was pregnant with my daughter, so half of that record was done in my 7th month or something. And then I had a little break, and then we already had a book tour for 9 weeks. So we took 2 kids, a baby and a 4-year-old, and we did 9, I think it was 5 weeks in a row with about 9 days off.
Wow.
I think it made me older 2 years. That one tour was just crazy. I think we should have probably not done that, but hey, we did it. And then we just naturally stayed in Memphis, and we thought, we're going to stay for a year. That's it. And we'll go back to Amsterdam. But we loved it. We loved the people. We loved the city. I always wanted West Coast or Amsterdam, one or the other. But Memphis was good 3 years. And it was just wonderful also because I could really experiment with all 3 meccas of music, New Orleans and Nashville and Memphis. And I used to do that for a trilogy record that I done in these 3 cities. I would just drive, I sit in my car, I drive to Nashville, do the background vocals. I love the sound of the vocals in Nashville, how they do the production in Nashville. I love the horns in New Orleans, how they play, how they produce them, how they sound. So I would have them written there. I would, record them there. And then for some specific songs, the Memphis groove was great, not for all, but I mean, I had songs specifically written for the Memphis drummers and Memphis bass players, and then New Orleans drummers. New Orleans, there's a very big distinct difference between the grooves. And of course the Nashville gives you that clean production and that kind of a little country approach. So you have so much to choose from, and that's the reason I stayed so long also. And of course the people are wonderful, very, very, very inviting, Southern hospitality. So that was great. And then finally I on one of my tours, I think it was with Experience Hendrix, we were in LA again. We played this Greek, which is a phenomenal theater. And then I called my husband. I said, it's time to sell everything we have. We got to come here. Now's the time.
How did that go down?
We have to sell everything we have to be able to make it in LA. So I remember that moment. And I think I was in Avila Beach, which was a stop on the one road up to San Francisco, which is one of my favorite roads ever. And I've seen many. And I called him. I said, it's time we put everything on the market.
Wow. Yeah. So, and how did the California sound fit in for you? I mean, there's another different groove again.
I really, as far as music, I'm still, I don't plan to move again. No, I think that's going to be it. We found a place in Manhattan Beach, which is very close. It's close to the airport, and it's a kind of a high-end neighborhood, got wonderful schools and cleanest air. And no traffic, because if you want to live in LA, you got to get rid of the traffic situation. Yeah,
when I went to LA, the traffic, I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, and we used to live in Calabasas, big Kardashian, clang and everything, and we didn't like that style of living, although it was beautiful, and you have had so much space and stuff. But we finally moved down to the beach again, and it's very European because we don't sit in the car. We ride bicycles, and it's a very European, and we walk, so we found a place in the States, although we were very picky, and we've seen places all over, Orlando and Chicago, of course, and New York, and it's either too busy, it's either too southern, it's either too not open-minded enough. Now we found a place that just suits us. Yeah, as far as the music, I'm still exploring, LA, although I recorded some records in LA, it gives you that urban feel. You can mix, with whatever you want, really, very, very modern, very, and it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to exploring more musically. I still do a lot of work in Texas because my rhythm session is in Dallas. Right. And I have to say that this last record that we are getting ready, that it's just fantastic songs. That's been a COVID collaboration, because I would just have to get out of LA, fly to Dallas and do some work, because I just can't stand not being productive. So I did that a few times, and it saved me, seriously. It saved me from the madness of the COVID, that working on music. So I would go there, and I have to say this record is, again, really much, Dallas oriented, saying that it has nothing to do with the Texas sound, but it's definitely, my team is over there. So that's where we wrote it. That's where we recorded demos in studios you wouldn't believe, because the studios were closed, so we would have to do it at a friend's place, quarantine, and of course got me to do stuff in Logic and Pro Tools on my own, which I don't think I was too lazy for that, if it was not for COVID. And there's another positive thing that comes in every situation. I am certainly ready to do my own comps and record myself on Pro Tools by myself.
Fantastic. I mean, you say you've always been moving west your whole life, so you can't see a move to Hawaii next or something, or
this is it. This is as far west.
Yeah, really?
As far west as I'm gonna go.
Are you not going to eventually come all the way back round and end up in Europe from the other direction?
No, we do have a place here in Amsterdam, and we love it. So this is for me an ultimate combination. That is, and as far as the kids, they're older now, so soon we can really enjoy both cities, because I miss Amsterdam, and I miss the museums and culture and the way of life. So we actually like both, and that's the idea. I want to be able to, and of course for my tours, I'm so often here. I'm here now. I would have been here whole October and November, and that's basically every year. Every year for 20 years. My years are planned. I know that summer's probably the States, Italy, France, summer festivals. Fall is always in Europe, Germany, Holland, and I kind of get to enjoy those places, and then the rest of the year is California and American touring. So yeah.
What's the most fun for you, touring or recording?
Definitely touring. Touring. I'm not a fan of recordings. I do it because it's a must, and I love to think of the songs. I love to plan the horn parts. I love to plan the drummers, bass players, and stuff like that. Me in a control room with my guitar and amp with an audience. That's just let's get it over with as soon as we can, so we can move on. Yeah. I love touring, and it's been 20 years since I've been answering the same question. How do you do that? It's so much traveling and stuff like that, and it's like, you know what? Do you know that it's just never too much for me? Like, I've been doing this so long, and long travel days. There's always that thing at the end that's a reward, which is you getting with a fantastic rhythm section and playing in front of people that are just smiling, and you give them that energy. That there is no travel day that's long enough, and it's not going to get rewarded for me.
That's tough talk. I mean, I'm a musician from the UK. I've been touring for 35 years now or something, and I think the travel is probably one of the hardest parts of the job. But it wasn't until I actually went to the States and toured in the States I realized just how big a country the States are, and the travel there is nothing compared to the UK. I mean, it's, I've traveled around Europe, which is a big place, but going from town to town in the States, that's really hard work.
Yeah, well, we do it obviously structured as you can. That's what we did right away when we moved. It's like we're not taking on an agency that's going to have us drive from Florida to Nebraska. We just don't do that. We don't do that. I'm not on the road that long, and it's always sections. So we fly everybody in. We meet at the California, whatever, or East Coast around New York, and then we tour that little part for about a week. I got 2 kids, so I don't do 5 weeks no longer. I haven't done it in years. So what we do is we still got 120 shows, but they're grouped. So you fly in, and you tour for a week or max 10 days close. We don't do more than 3 hours a day. Like, that's our 3-4 hours a day. Of course, there's examples, exceptions to the rule. If we need to make it to the festival, we need to make it. But we try to make it as easy so that my band members also can have their side jobs. They can teach, they can do stuff. So we kind of really try to master this thing. But still, when people ask me, like, you've been sitting in a plane now for 12 hours, I don't mind it. I love it. I love the work that I'm doing. I can't wait to be back on stage. So I think maybe I just found the right job for me. I don't know, but I enjoy everything, and every job you pick, every job has downsides to it. And
How does the songwriting process work for you? Because you're saying you love to work, like plan out all the parts, all the horn parts, the vocal parts, everything planned out. I mean, is it a very solitary thing for you, the sort of songwriting aspect of the business?
Yeah, I think it gives me a lot of pleasure. I think songwriting just is something that I enjoy doing. I approach it very serious, I mean, if it doesn't pass my first initial a test as far as the song, it's not going to see the light of day, that's for sure. And that being said, I'm not giving up on it. Just I'm looking for maybe collaborators that are going to take it somewhere else, or maybe the band's going to play different, or maybe I'll just take a look at it again in a year or something. I'll pull up those lyrics. But I enjoy the process, and musicians can give you so many different different inputs. They can inspire in so many ways. I work with different producers, and it's been both ways. Like, some producers want to be musicians, some producers want to be the drummer, some producers bring in a room the best drummer, and they still want to be the drummer. I'm like, let the guy play, let him play. It's going to inspire you. I'm not going to tell him what to play. I hired him because I like what he does. So, let him shine, inspire people. I'm more into like bringing the right song to the right person, right? You're going to have the best drummer in the house. You bring the wrong song, he's not going to give you what he's, famous for. So, when I work with people like Bernard Purdy, and I mean, so many incredible drummers, musicians, horns players. And so I really, my quest is to write a certain music and then find the right person to deliver that. And then obviously I have my inputs. I have something I want to hear, and I talk to them about it, but and then they still play it. I might not use it, but I'm just saying, I'll have a few. I remember how Steely Dan used to bring all this incredible, drummers and bass players, and they're all incredible. They're going to pick one, not use the other 99, so I don't have that big of a budget, but I certainly do try song, and you will be surprised how a certain song that you thought would work great for this guy won't. It will work great, and you might be surprised.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely into letting other people inspire me with their playing. I'm a big fan of great drummers, great bass players. So I want their gift.
The backbone of the band, right? Yeah, drummers and bass players, absolutely. Is there anyone in particular that you would really, would be your dream? It would be your dream collaboration to work with.
I mean, there's so many. Let's not get into that now. There's so many, right? I mean, I mean, I don't know, Clapton. I already had so many people. I mean, I'm lucky that when I text somebody, they actually return the text. But I did, Sonny Landreth was on my list for a very long time. I love Sonny. And I wrote that song with him in mind. It was a sort of a slide instrumental that we did. So Sonny, I mean, Joe Bonamassa on the previous record, Robin Ford on the previous record. I mean, those are my top players. I used to admire Robin, back when I was starting in Serbia. I would sit down with his records and play and admire his style, so many players I already have on my records. So who knows?
Just between you and I right now, is there anyone you wouldn't work with?
No, come on.
Really?
I mean, no, it wouldn't be from this genre of music, I'm sure, because I respect people, I mean, I might not like the genre, but whoever does whatever they do in blues, they're doing the best they can. I don't think, if anything, I could never be, how do you say that? I could never write about somebody else's music. I could never be the one that has to say, oh, you know what, this record sucks, or because people put time in it. Whatever they do, it's on their level. They put time, they do the best they can. Who are you to judge? So no.
Oh, that's very nice of you, I think. Very nice. Who are you listening to at the moment? I mean, who's inspiring you? Who are you thinking, you know, not necessarily even in the blues world, just in the music world in general, who are you looking to and thinking, wow, that's great. I really love that vibe that they're putting out?
I don't know. You know what? I'm just lately I've been really busy with my music. I have to say, whenever I have some time, and I don't have a free time because my kids are always needing me for the Zoom lessons and stuff like that. I really don't. I'm really into my music and trying to, write and trying to make those demos. That's not easy with Pro Tools and stuff like that. So I'm really much into it lately. I don't know what to say. I mean, I don't remember last time I put something new on. I have my playlist, or whatever, you can, what people I just named, you can listen to Robin Ford, you can listen to Joe's last record, listen to, so many, some of the older stuff, Ronnie Earl, you can listen to what Stevie did, you can listen to some Hendrix. I listened to some Hendrix because I had to prepare for the Experience Hendrix tour last time. So I remember I went through his catalog and see how he was doing stuff back in the day, and I thought it was incredible. Still, nobody can do that. So yeah, just all kinds. Ronnie Earl, Robin Ford, Hendrix, and list goes on and on. But as I said, lately I've been really focused on my music.
Is there let's talk about guitars a little bit. I mean, is there anything sort of guitar-wise you think, man, I'd love to own that guitar or that amplifier? Or what would be the holy grail of guitars for you?
Well, John Cruz from Custom Shop Fender is building me Ana Popovic model. So it is going to be very exciting. It's already almost done. So I'm very, very excited. It's got a very cool look to it and a great sound. So I've been going back and forward to the Fender factory, and working with John is just incredible because, he's the man behind Muddy Waters Signature Custom Shop, Stevie Ray Vaughan Custom Shop, Jeff Beck, I forgot all kinds of stuff he did. I mean, Muddy Waters, Telly and stuff like that. So we've been working together on that model. So that's a nice story. It's going to be
anything in particular you're going to have in that custom model that you really...
but I can't say that now.
Big secret, eh?
It's a secret. The color's a secret, the configuration's a secret, but it's coming. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. We'll just have to wait and see. I can't wait. So that's very exciting. The rest, I started working with cordial cables, Telefunken microphones in the meantime, a lot of them Mesa amps. I got a wonderful California Tweed in the shipment from them, and a Mark V that I didn't have before, and a Fillmore. So they kind of shipped a few amps. That was very nice, and I've been enjoying them ever since. Telefunken sent a few studio mics, which was wonderful because I needed that. And Cordial Cables is it's a European-based firm for cables. So I've been getting some gear lately, and waiting for my guitar, and the rest just enjoying my 64 and my guitar collection that's kind of scattered now all over the world because we're not touring. So usually it's like I'm in touch with these guitars, but now they're kind of all over the place. But hey, hopefully Maastricht's gonna be the first. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. What's more exciting for you, guitar shopping or clothes shopping?
Definitely clothes shopping.
Oh, really?
Definitely clothes shopping. Oh, yes. I've never been a fan of guitar shops. It's just something I don't go in. I think I'm not a collector. Yeah. I've never been. So I don't really believe in just getting all these guitars and having them stacked in your room or your closet, it's not my thing. I understand people love it. So I just don't. I think you have to play those guitars. And every now and then I get guitars shipped. They're either made or handmade or even presents. And I just sometimes ship it back because I just don't want it to stay around. I don't want to insult nobody, and I want to just play what I love, and that's my 64 Strat. And my maple neck is another one that is very important for some of my songs. And then while Sadowski, that's very famous for the basses. I'm a fan of his basses. Now they built me a guitar, and that's a very interesting guitar, and I am been playing that now for half a year. So that's interesting to mention. That's different. That's out of my usually comfort zone. There's been few pieces like that. Hamilton made me one. Now that's really wonderful. It sounds very, very Steve Ray Vaughan-ish, and it's got that wonderful logo, Ana Popovic this time, that I love from my childhood, from watching that video of Steve Ray Vaughan with Hamilton in it. I got a few guitars that are different, and the Angelico, of course, they sent me a very nice jazzy guitar that I use for my jazzy songs, and I got a Martin acoustic, an Ovation, so I'm in touch, trying them out and recording and writing with those. So yeah.
I've got a question that I always ask on these podcasts, and it's a little convoluted, so just stick with me for a minute. But I want you to imagine that we're in the future a little way, and they've just announced that a huge asteroid is going to hit the Earth. Okay, and the president of the whole world has got on the telephone to you, because there's a world president in the future, and he said, Anna, we need a band for a big show for tomorrow, so we can go out on a massive party. We want you to come and play a song and pick a special band for this event. What song are you going to play, and who's going to be in your band?
Okay, what song? Now that's a difficult part, because the band, I know it's my band. It's going to be my band. Okay. Which song would that be? Wow, for the end of the world? For the end of the world, the last song you're ever going to play. The last song I'm ever going to play. Interesting. Well, I would probably have to go back to one that they always scream about, which is called Navajo Moon. And then, well, does it have to be one song? No, I think... a medley, if you like, yeah. Yeah, I think we will probably play Navajo Moon, and we will play Woman to Love. That's it. That's going to be my pick, I guess. With your own band? Oh, yeah, with my band. Yeah, I'll probably I have a European side and I have an American side. That means that I got 3 European band members that are in Italy, and my fabulous horns and my Hammond player that you can actually see on our latest DVD, Live for Live, recorded just before pandemic. Just fantastic. Then I have an American side, the same Hammond player and horns from Texas, and I will probably merge them for that special occasion. Have a big band. Have a big band. Band, right? Yeah. Yeah. But anyhow, seriously, good news is there's no end of the world yet. Although it's been a craziest 2020. It kind of seems like it. So you can just take a look at my DVD, Live for Life. That is just a phenomenal concert. I waited 10 years for the right crew to record it and to be on stage with me, which is my band. And we really went through the retrospective and through all the songs from 20 years, 20 years of our Ana Popovic band, and recorded in south of France in December, just before pandemic hit. It's incredible. But actually I'm so happy we did it back then, because band was really hot. They were on the, they were really sounding incredible. And we recorded it with like 7 cameras and in a wonderful place in south of France. So check it out, Live for Live, which explains it, because we live for playing live, and we live for music, and we live for being on the road. One last question: Do you think you're always going to play until your last day? Do you think you'd see yourself playing music? I don't know that. I don't know. I always said that I'm interested in many things, and I will play until I feel that there is something to be said. I mean, I made so many different records, and I still keep making different records. The next one's going to be very different from anything I've made so far. And that's a driving force. And I think that I have to give my fans that's been with me for many years always a reason to go out and buy a record. And until I have the driving energy and that new excitement about music, I will certainly play. But when that's no longer there, if that's no longer there for any reason, I'm absolutely not going to force it, because I came across a lot of musicians that did force it, and I don't like the sight of that. I don't like the sound of that, and I don't like the sight of that. And I think somewhere it's also better you get out of it before you're still sane, right, and in charge of your own career, and not having some tour manager start to lead that, because there's been a few artists that ended up like that. So music is the most beautiful line of work, if you ask me, but also in a way dangerous towards the end, so you should know when to step out. That's what I think. Talking about some further times. And on top of that, I'm always interested in many other things. I mean, I always, a little art gallery in Amsterdam was always on my to-do list, And I still somewhere think about that as an option, and just something that I would like to do, maybe as a side work, maybe as a full-time, I don't know. But at some point in my future, I can see that happen very easily, or, enjoy art in different ways. I'm always busy. What I said, I'm always busy with interior. I would, there's just so many beautiful things you can be busy with, but music is absolutely my passion. Beyond that, it's my passion, my joy, and what I love the most. So for now, I'm definitely, in music full-time. I'm full-time in music. Nothing can even touch that, as far as my interests are. I just, that makes me most happy working on the songs and working with the band, by far.
Yeah. Ana, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you today. Thank you so much for talking to us here on the Blues Podcast. Good luck with all the touring and everything, and we're going to see you out on the road very soon, I know.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being a part of this.
So if you've enjoyed this, why not like and subscribe to the Blues Podcast right now? All right?